Hi, I'm your host, Heidi, and you're watching Area Artist Showcase. The purpose of this show is to support the local art community and recognize the contributions of the local artists. Today we have David Stoddard with us. Dave, why don't you take a few minutes to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm David Stoddard, like Heidi says, and I'm a singer and a songwriter, and a raconteur, and a man about town.
Well, where are you from, Dave? Are you originally from the Otter Tail County area?
No, I grew up in a little town called Green Bay in Wisconsin, which is the Alabama of the North, Green Bay.
So what brought you to Fergus Falls, Minnesota?
I followed my wife here. She works at the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center.
Has music always been a part of your traveling? Was that something that you've done your whole life? How did you get started?
Well, that's the only thing I ever really could see myself doing. I was a terrible student, though. I never practiced. But once I got out into the real world and saw that you don't actually have to make a living by practicing. You can actually apply your art. It became a lot more gratifying, and so I'm doing that way.
Tell us a little bit about your music. What are some of your influences?
My influences? I like the songwriters. So I'm a fan of John Prine. There's a fellow by the name of Loudon Wainwright III, who only ever had one sort of minor hit in the 70s called Dead Skunk in the Middle of the Road. There's some great independent artists. I don't know if you know, I have a radio program here in town called Northern Roots Radio.
Nice.
And it is on KBRF on Saturday nights, and it's on Z103 on Sunday mornings. And it's an hour-long music program, and it features all independent artists. So everybody on the show is unsigned or on a very tiny label. Mostly, I don't have label reps coming to me with gifts and CDs. I have artists either dropping them off on their way through town or sending them to me in the mail. It's a very grassroots sort of intimate process, and we sort of have turned it into an independent artist showcase once a week here in Fergus on the local radio.
Out where the river bend, just south of the gravel road, I take the girl I love to court her. But I can only give her time, 'cause I ain't got but a handful of coins, and her father says he knows I can't afford it. We watch the sun go down, all the colors I've ever seen, knowing well that beggars can't be choosy. I give her all I can, I'm on borrowed time, and I am so afraid I'm going to lose it. Stay, 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 Laurie. Stay, 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 Laurie. We go walking hand in hand through the soft October rain, knowing that the day might be our last. Wintertime is coming on, and now there's another man, and the father says my time with her has passed. Stay, 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 Laurie. Stay, 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 Laurie. Walks her down the aisle, and I don't know what to say. I cannot bear to have her see me cry. It seems to take forever. She turns to catch my eye, and I can tell she inside too is dying. Stay, 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 Laurie. Stay, stay, stay. Laurie.
talk a little bit about folk music. Not a lot of people, especially my generation, are very familiar with it. So what are some very distinct elements of folk, and why did you choose folk music to be your...
I chose folk music for the very single pragmatic reason that if I were standing on stage by myself, I wouldn't have to split the money with anybody. That's the reason. Also, I'm getting older by the minute, it seems like. And I used to play in rock bands, and you'd stay up till, for 3-4 days straight, recording and playing and traveling around. And once you get to be about 30, you can't do that anymore. So you play blues music because you're older. And you have to stay up just as late, but there's not nearly so much to remember because they're all the same. And then when you get to be like 40, then you turn to folk music because, number one, it's quieter. Right? And number two, you get to be by yourself because you hate all these bastards that you've been playing music with for years, right? And number three, your gig is over at 9:30 instead of starting at 9:30. But I guess in seriousness, whenever I listen to my favorite bands, I really like Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young, and I like the Eagles, and I like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. And my favorite music by all of those acts was always the sort of stripped down, really intimate setting of acoustic guitars or vocals, and that's it. My favorite, growing up, I was a huge Neil Young fan, and my favorite Neil Young songs were him with the guitar. None of that, and I thought, that really speaks to me. And that's just the way that went. And so, to some people, that's folk music. And this is your other question. What is folk music? To some people, Pete Seeger is folk music, and Woody Guthrie. And to some people, Irish dance music is folk music. And like we said, it's one of those marketing terms that is ambiguous and doesn't really say anything. But I like singer-songwriters, and I like the ones that don't sing about feelings. I think that speaks to real life, and that to me is what folk music is. If you can sing about something that people can relate to. My daughter is a huge Taylor Swift fan. We listen to almost nothing but Taylor Swift at my house these days. But Taylor Swift is a good songwriter. She has this song that my daughter knows that I like, When You're 15, and that is a legitimate look at the way a 15-year-old looks at life, and that's completely legitimate, absolutely. And if that speaks to you, then more power to you. And that's, to me, what a good songwriter does.
Artists, I think, are just very in tune to their human experience and their existence. I think
musicians are the same way. If you were to count, say, Woody Guthrie as an influence because of not necessarily his songs, but his lifelong struggles with mental illness or with living through the Dust Bowl era and being a part of that particular whole society that basically got left behind in the 30s, and going to California and having armed guards at the border saying you can't come into California. And if you admire someone's perseverance and willingness to take that sort of a life and use that as their own artistic road to follow, then absolutely. Now, I don't think that my music would be compared to Woody Guthrie's, but the influence is certainly there because of that idea. My songs tend to take the whole idea of society and try to turn a mirror on it as well.
Astronomers have told us there's a way to get to Mars, to use acceleration caused by centrifugal force. That's a thing that tends to toss the kids around in the cars when the parents take the cars around the corner. Even if you'd wanted to, it'd take at least a year, barring catastrophic complications unforeseen. Lost would be the Yahtzee dice and drunk would be the beer by the time your little ship could make the landing. The sun would be 1 billion miles colder there on Mars, and the Earth would be a small but brightish speck up in the sky. An absence of this type would most assuredly raise the bar for ways to get away from home and family. It's all very interesting to think about such travel when real life adventures are so few and far between. The glamour and the thrill of it will all become unraveled when you realize that going to Mars is pointless. Instead, I'm going home. Home, I'm going home. Going home, I'm going home. I'm going home to where the smiles are always real. I'm going home. Home, I'm going home. Going home, I'm going home. 'Cause that is where my heart lives.
Now, you do some work in the human services field also.
Occasionally.
Occasionally, or are you
Once
still?
every 6 months or so.
Okay.
Not very much.
We used to work more often, but either way, you have that as a component in your life, working
Yeah.
with high-risk youth.
Working with kids and having a kid of my own who's a brilliant artist and also is 11, and watching the transformation, I think, of people from one stage of their life to another, whether it's kids who are 18 and ready to jump out into the world, or kids who are 11 and ready to jump into middle school, or even kids who are in their 60s and ready to retire and not knowing why or how. There's an awful lot of material. Maybe that's not the right word. There's an awful lot of maybe material. There's opportunities to observe how people live and interrelate and self-relate, and boy, that's where art comes from. And there's no shortage of it.
I know this is a very, very tough question. Not a lot of people who even are not musicians can answer this, but if you had to pick one favorite artist or band, who is your absolute favorite?
My absolute favorite? Oh. You know, normally I don't have one, but at this moment I do have one. Laurie Mclain. She's my favorite. She's an astounding performer. Very understated. I've seen her in a number of different venues, and you can't not listen to her. She lives in Nashville. Her husband invented the stand-up acoustic folding bass.
Nice.
Foldingbass.com, and she's just a great songwriter, and she's got a bunch of great experiences, and and she's a lot of fun. I actually had the honor of touring with her a couple of years back, and just did one short little tour, but boy, I was hooked. She's just such a great performer and singer, and actually I do a number of her songs in my set these days. So,
nice.
So that's who my favorite is. Laurie Mclain, McClain. Laurie, Laurie, LaurieMclain.com.
Speaking of performances and tours, where can somebody find Dave Stoddard? Hey, I
Well-
saw this guy on the new Peg Access show. Where can I go and see him perform?
Well, it's funny you should ask. I'm doing a show on the Saturday before Mother's Day. That's the 8th, I believe. May 8th at a Center for the Arts, 120 West Lincoln in downtown Fergus Falls, 998 Arts for details. Anthony Miltich and I are doing a show together.
Fun.
And I'll say it right here, we're putting a band together, and we're going to have a band there. And it's going to be, we're hopefully actually going to rehearse, which will be really great. But so that's the next big thing is going to be May 8th at a Center for the Arts. I'm going to be in the Chicago area for several dates just after that. In May, middle of May, is going to be in Chicago. I'm going to be in Florida in April. Oh, and also the open mic, first Thursday of every month. And you can check out my radio program, Northern Roots Radio, Saturday evening on KBRF AM 1250 and Sunday mornings.
Again, I'm your host, Heidi Naramani. Thank you for joining us this week at Area Artist Showcase. Special thanks to David Stoddard for joining us, and thanks to Box Elder Gifts for making this show possible.
Well, you knew when you married him that he was kind of strange. Now he's married to the TV set, and your friends think you're deranged. He's slow and weird and filthy, and he's got some kind of mange. Now your life goes ticking by while you wait for him to change. You've been down this road before, results are what you're missing. So you complain both high and low to anyone who'll listen. Anything yet? Anything yet? Well, he promised when the season's done, he'll give this all some thought. Anything yet? Anything yet? Well, he's so busy being bored with you that I guess he just forgot. Well, you're singing for the victims of a nasty little war. You sing loud and long enough, your songs won't be ignored. You're serious and earnest, and your vocal cords are sore. You injustice fighting, pacifistic, precious troubadour. If you think you'll make a difference, well, you'll find there's something missing. So you still sing your protest songs to anyone who'll listen. Anything yet? Anything yet? Still waiting for the proletariat to foil the plot. Anything yet? Anything yet? Well, they're so busy with their own lives that I guess they just forgot. Well, for all the world's hungry, may they find enough to eat. For all the world's shoeless, put two good shoes on their feet. For all the world's lonely, may they not feel quite so bad. For all the world's children, may they have a mom and dad. Well, if you're waiting for results, you'll find there's something missing. But still you say your daily prayers to anyone who'll listen. Anything yet? Anything yet? You're expecting some kind of divine intervention, but so far squat. Anything yet? Anything yet? Well, he's so busy smiting sinners that I guess he just forgot. Anything yet? Anything yet? Well, he's so busy fixing football games that I guess he just forgot.